Hey everyone, in my last session I explained what is reactive stream specification using this publisher subscriber event message flow. So in today's session we are going to see how we can implement this flow using Mono and Flux. So let's begin. Let's start writing code now. So we'll quickly create a project. So I'll use Spring Assistant. I'll say com.example.reactive web and artifact ID as Spring Reactive web demo, or I'll say tutorial, and Java 8. I'll give the project name the same as artifact ID. It will be demo project for Spring Reactive, and let's just go to the next step. I'll use Spring Reactive Web as the dependency, and let's click finish. So what we are going to do is we are going to basically replicate the publisher subscriber event flow that we saw using Mono and Flux. So let's quickly do that. What I'll do is I'll write a simple test class. So I'm not going to write any test as such, but I'm just going to use this test class to demonstrate Mono and Flux. So I'll say Mono and Flux demo. Let me just zoom in. Okay, so I'll write test Flux first. It will be a test. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a Flux first. Flux, as you know, is an publisher which is going to publish the data. So I'll select Flux over here. I'll say flux.just. I'm just going to emit numbers over here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a subscriber that subscribes to this publisher. So before doing that, let's just see what Flux consists of. So Flux is part of project reactor, as I already said, and if we go in more detail, it implements a core publisher. Even core publisher is part of project reactor. So until now we are not in the reactive streams. So let's see, it extends publisher. Publisher is part of the reactive stream specification, right? So this is that publisher over here. Okay, let's move on. Now for the next step is I want to subscribe to this publisher, right? So by default, project reactor provides a default implementation of subscriber, but to explain a very basic event flow, I'm going to write my own subscriber, and later on we are going to use the subscriber that is provided by project reactor. So I create my subscriber. The subscriber should implement the subscriber of the reactive streams, right? As we have not implemented all the methods, right? We need to implement all the methods for the subscriber interface. So now there are 4 methods. So let's go to the flow. We are going to do the first part where subscriber subscribes to the publisher. To do that, I have to create a new subscriber and pass it, right? So the first step is complete. What is the second step? Second step is publisher calls this on subscribe method and sends the subscription, right? So I'll just write a print over here which says subscription received. Okay, And on the next step, what is the next step? We have to request the publisher, right, from the subscriber using the subscription. So I'll say subscription dot request, I'll say 5 for now, and over here I'll say request sent. Okay, so this step is complete. Now the next step is publisher is going to call on next, right? So the flow is going to be over here. So simply I'll do a sysout over here. I'll say on next, and I'll print out the numbers. Okay, so this is complete. What is the last thing is on complete. So once the flow reaches here, I'm going to print completed. So we have basically implemented this entire flow. Now let's test. So as you can see over here, the entire flow we have replicated. First, the subscription subscriber subscribes to the publisher, okay, which is Flux in this case. Then subscription is received. Using this subscription, the request is sent, and then publisher publishes the data using this on next method. And after all the data is emitted, we print out completed, which is basically when on complete method gets called. So this is what we have done. We have written our own subscriber, but as I said, we are not going to do that in our real applications, right? So let's see how we are going to handle that. Same thing again. I'm going to emit 5 numbers, and then I'm going to do the subscribe. But now instead of passing my new subscriber, I'm going to write some Lambda functions. Okay, so let me write the Lambda functions first, and then I'll explain what exactly it is, how exactly a subscriber is created. Okay, so this is error. I'll say this is error, and then we have completed. I could have used even the method reference over here, but to keep it very simple, I am just writing the normal Lambda functions. Okay, so I have created 3 Lambda functions, but where is the subscriber getting created? If you can see here, we have created our subscriber, but here there is nothing called a subscriber, right? How it is getting created? So let's just first see what these 3 Lambda functions are. Okay, to do that, I'll split this vertically. Okay, now looking at this, you will be able to translate what are these functions. So this function is taking in a data, and it is just printing that, right, which is similar to this on next. Fine. Next is it is taking in and some error, and it is printing it, which is similar to this on error. And this is, it is not taking anything, not returning anything, it is just printing something, right? So which is similar to this on complete. Fine, so we know how these Lambda functions are translated to the corresponding functions in the subscriber interface, but who exactly is doing that and how is it happening, right? So to do that, we need to go in deeper inside the subscribe. So in this subscribe, as you can see, there are 2 consumers and a runnable, right? So basically there are 3 consumers. 2 are a consumer implementation, 1 is runnable implementation. So as you are aware, in Java 8 we have consumer interface, right? So this Lambda function that we have created, the 2 Lambda functions, number, which is taking number and printing it out, and taking error and printing it out. These Lambda functions are the implementations of the consumer interfaces. Okay, so if I open the consumer, those Lambda functions are basically implementing this particular method. Okay, so in Java 8, as you are aware, there are 3 core functional interfaces: consumer, which consumes the data; supply, which returns the data; and function, which returns, it consumes also and it returns the data, right? But there is nothing for void. So for that we are using this runnable, and runnable we are using from long time, right? In multi-threading also we have used runnable interface. So it's a simple functional interface, and our this Lambda function is providing the implementation for that runnable interface. Okay, run method basically. So that is how this Lambda functions are getting translated into consumers. But still we haven't got the answer. Where is the subscriber, right? So the subscriber is right over here. As you can see, the Lambda subscriber. So let's click on this Lambda subscriber and dig in detail. So this Lambda subscriber is part of project Reactor. Okay, now let's go to inner consumer. This inner consumer is also part of project Reactor. If we go to core subscriber now, still we are in project Reactor, we are not in reactive stream specification. If we click on this subscriber, now we are in reactive streams, right? If you can see, it is exactly same as this particular subscriber, right? So now we know how exactly the subscriber is created. So the Lambda subscriber implements this subscriber interface, and that is how subscriber is getting passed over here. So Lambda subscriber convert all these Lambda expressions into the corresponding methods of the subscriber interface of reactive streams, right? Now let's run this. Okay, so as you can see, oh sorry, I didn't logged it. So as you can see, the logs are similar to what we have done, right? In my subscriber, it is first on subscribe, then it makes the request, and then publisher calls on next and keeps on emitting the data. After the data is completed, it calls on complete. So now we have seen the entire publisher subscriber flow using the Flux. Now let's do the same thing for Mono. In Mono, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and change few things. So I'll say test Mono, and as you know, I'll just remove this part. I will replace this by Mono. As soon as I do that, there is going to be an error which says, as you can see, Mono just emits one data, so it expects one argument, but it has found 5. So we need to remove this. Apart from this, everything else I'll keep same, and I'll run this. So as you can see, first is on subscribe, which sends the subscription. It makes the request on that subscription, and subscriber makes this request, and publisher, basically Mono, sends on next. And as Mono emits only one data, it sends on next and it immediately calls on complete, right? Now we have seen all the happy scenario, there are no errors, right? So let's generate some errors. First we'll do it in Flux and then in Mono. So to do that, I'll say concat with, and I'll create an error forcefully. I'll say new runtime exception in Flux, right? For now, let me just comment this out. Now let's see what happens. So as you can see, it did on next, it emitted 5 numbers, but after that we have added an exception over here, right? So it didn't signal on complete, instead of that it signaled on error with this particular exception that we have mentioned, right? Now just to test, what if there is some data that is emitted after this, right? What happens then? Whether the flow continues or it doesn't. So suppose I say 6 over here, right? Let me run this. So as you can see, it emitted 5 data. After that it said on error, but there was no emission that has happened for this number 6, which means that once on error is sent, your Flux is terminated. That's what we saw in the flow, right? Similarly for Mono, let's test the exception. I'll say in this case it is then mono.error new runtime exception in Mono. Okay, let's test this. Okay, so you can see there is no on next that has happened because Mono just emits one data. If there is an error, there would be no data emitted. it will straight away say that it is having an error, and it will signal on error method, and it will throw an exception, which is like exception in mono that we have seen over here, right? So this is how exactly mono and flux works, and have showed you the internal implementation as well for both the things. So in our next session we are going to see how we can use reactive programming while writing our microservices using the Spring Reactive Web. Thank you.